So I went back to Iran after 9 years for another movie, which was a French production, French-Iranian production. And for that movie, I needed some theater actors because there was a theater scene in that film. And I'm originally coming from theater. So I went to Iran. I wanted to make that movie, and I was reconnected myself to the theater scene. And they invited me to teach because they were very happy that I come back and was really surprised. So it was really a great honor to teach and to get to know the new people, the younger generation. And of course I couldn't make that movie. They didn't give me permission, and they wanted me to leave. But then I could really feel something is different with before, and I could really, it's a bit strange, but I felt something big is happening. And so I decided to stay in Iran, despite the fact that I couldn't finish my film. And then the revolution started. And I was there, and it was really sad. But it was also very, so the feeling I had was very strange because it was really tragic what was happening. But it was also, it gave me a lot of motivation and inspired me because I could see the bravery of these people. Many of them were my students. And then all of a sudden my theater rehearsals and classes and workshops turned to a rehearsal for a revolution. People brought what was happening on the street to the theater. So it brought me to think and to read all the old theater texts, which is about rejecting a power, to fight, to resist. So I kind of reviewed myself from Aristophanes to William Shakespeare, to more recent Günter Grass, to Bertolt Brecht. I start to read all of them again, Albert Camus. And so I was living in this resistant movement of literature and theater. But one day I was leaving my classes, and I was stuck in the street because it was all of a sudden a big demonstration. I could say I cannot order a taxi with my mobile, and anytime that the internet was cut, you could feel something is happening. So I decided I'd go with metro, it's even better. But then the metro station was a war scene. I could see people are throwing stones, the police respond back with tear gases and plastic bullets, and I was in the middle. So I tried to go the opposite direction, and they said, oh, it's even worse. So I was stuck. I could do nothing. Because whenever I wanted to go to a demonstration, to a rally or something, I was prepared, I knew the risk, I was really with my mentality, and didn't bring my mobile. I had everything, I had my mobile, and I was in my theater. And that was the moment that I don't know, it was really magically that nothing happened to me and I survived the moment. In the evening, I couldn't go back home. I just found a friend who lives close by. And in the middle of the night, this friend started to shout because he received a message that one of his closest friends is arrested. And they have a Telegram account. So he said, they probably come here and they arrest me. Ayat, so be careful, do you have something with you? And it was 3 o'clock in the morning, and nothing happened that evening. We stay awake in the morning. In the morning, I wrote the first draft of this film. I decided I want to make a movie, and I wanted to be related to what's happening in the country. But I didn't want to, and of course, it should be forbidden, it should be underground, it was really a dangerous process and everything. But I didn't want to be only that. I didn't want to have a movie which is just underground, just subterranean, just forbidden. I just wanted to do something cinematically, in a visual level of that. And it was a time that many music students recording their voices, and many of them were with uncovered faces. They were either back to the camera, or there was the young students, mostly girls, who had these political statements at their classrooms. They were mostly back to the camera. But one video came up and I loved it, and it was the music students. They closed the door and started to sing, and then they were, putting their feet on the floor. And I love that. And that was basically my first visual inspiration to make this movie. So no, it was my decision that I don't want to show any faces. And so that comes to the choreography of the film. So like all the style of acting and movement that I decided to inspired by, coming from the fact that I just wanted to have legs. And then later on, of course, I come up and I also have like silhouette, I have, flou, I have autofocus, I use all techniques to cover the face, but the main visual language of the film is the moving legs. And so, yes, and then the question was, what can be the voice? So Tehran is a very loud city anyway. It's you have noise pollution, But then you could hear the revolution, in the middle of the night, you woke up because people were shouting on the rooftops, In the streets, in the big autobahns, you could hear the political, slogans. So it was everywhere. I remember many times in my rehearsals, we stopped because the sound on the street was really loud. You could hear the police goes. So I thought, okay, my second cinematic element is the off voice, the off sound, which is, for me, it's very cinematic. For me, it's really, the sound is as important as the picture in cinema. So I thought, okay, let me try, And you have to know, I didn't have anything. Many scenes of the film I shot with a mobile phone, and I even recorded with a mobile phone. So the quality wasn't the best, but it was what I could get. And I think I like it in the movie, that that it's not an ideal sound, but it's what we got in the right time, in the right place. Basically, those are all scripted, improvisations. I asked them to do that, but it comes from a reality that. So all the conversation was in the film is really my understanding of the situation of the time. So both the fact that, to my opinion, when I was in Iran and I'm working as a theater director. I was very much disappointed of the theater scene, of being conservative, of being very careful, of not being brave enough. And 18 years later, the theater scene was one of the theater people were so brave, their statements, the declaration, and the fact that all of a sudden, all of the theaters in Tehran shut down by themselves. And only one theater continue to go, and the people were mostly on the street. So I said, okay, look, this is really something we have to talk about. That all of a sudden, and for me it was a revolution within the Iranian theater scene, that the new generation took over. They said, enough is enough. So that was basically, I wanted to bring that conversation to the public. And of course, there were so many theaters ready to go on the stage. There were some in the middle of the rehearsals, and they had to decide what to do. And of course, the conversation went on, and I was involved, so I knew. So those conversations are real. It was the real conversation we had at the time. But then, of course, the conversation of inside and outside. It's also the question of revolution. Who leads the revolution? People inside Iran, people inside prison, or people who are outside, the opposition that it's since 44 years. Getting bigger and bigger, and so who's leading the revolution, And then something comes on top of that. This was a revolution rejecting a dictator. Aren't I also a dictator as a director? Or what is the position of director in theater in general, So the director is a dictator who wants his wishes to be done, And the cast has to reject that. So this is part of the storytelling of the film. And that helps because I'm coming from outside. Most of them didn't know me. In person, none of them know me. Only few of them heard my name because of what I did before. So for them so they had to trust me. And they did. But they had doubts. And I played with those doubts, I played along, and I let them attack me,